And I think at this time I'm going to turn over to our Assistant City Manager, and we're going to talk about some assessments.
Your assessments we're paying for. As you heard Paula talk about all the different services that were provided. Well, you know, we spent about $212,000 last year to pay for all those services. When your assessments, I mean, all the assessments that came in, was about $171,000. So even at the $28 level that was being provided to us, that still wasn't enough to cover all of the costs associated with running these parks. And a lot of that had to do with utility costs went up that were unexpected, and some other services costs that were not anticipated when the assessments were put in place. So what I want to mention to you was just a few items that we have the opportunity to explore during this process. Other communities around this area utilize different types of assessments to pay for their parks and recreation services. For example, City of Temecula to the south of us, they have a community services district, and they charge all the properties, all the parcels within their city, and the base rate is $74 per year per property. They charge multifamily properties, commercial properties, retail properties, whereas when we set up the original assessment here, it was just certain residential properties that we're paying. So if we look at setting up a new assessment and perhaps expanding it to all the properties within the city of Wildomar, that could yield some pretty good results for us financially as far as providing for the maintenance of the parks and for future expansion of the parks. City of Murrieta to the south of us, they also have a community services type district that they include, that they utilize for all their residents, and they pay separately for their parks and recreation services. The county, I live in the county, and I'm part of County Service Area 143, and I pay a separate fee to be part of that CSA, and that provides for the parks and for the landscaping around the area in which I live. What I'm driving at is things have changed. The property taxes that we were used to paying for all the parks in the past, when I was a kid, you know, they don't cover it anymore. The way to pay for the parks, the way to pay for the services is through these special assessments. And it's up to us. We can choose what type of assessments we want to provide and the level of services that we want to provide for, or other opportunities. Now, when we set up assessments, there's a couple of different methods that we can use. One requires a 51% vote, another one requires a 66% vote. They both have pros and cons to them. And we can look at maybe some exemptions. Maybe we exempt senior citizens. If they apply, they can be exempted from paying these assessments. Or low income can be exempted from the assessments. There's a lot of choices that we have that we can talk about in the future. And that's why we're here tonight, is to explore some of those different opportunities and choices, and eventually come together with a new type of funding mechanism to keep these parks like they are tonight, with several hundred people enjoying the parks here in the community. That's all I had to say. I'm going to turn it back over to Bridget.